Okay, so 6.0, review graphing lines. So, we have two main linear forms for graphing. We have three linear forms total, but two that we use for graphing. The first one, slope-intercept form. Write it, leave a little bit of space either to the right of it, beneath it, so that way you can write what it is. Standard form, and once again, leave a little space either to the right or below it, so that way we have space to write what it is. So we're going to write this down. Two linear forms for graphing. We have slope-intercept form and standard form. Thanks. Oh, I probably I'm happy about that. Appreciate it. Good to know.
This is the only class I missed.
Yeah, I kind of miss Miss.
I'm figuratively funny.
Yeah.
Hey, so we're talking a lot. We're talking a lot right now. So I'm guessing that everyone's done with this. Everyone's written it already?
Yes,
Sure.
Okay, perfect. So, slope-intercept form. Slope-intercept form. Somebody raise your hand to tell me what slope-intercept form looks like. Okay. Yes. Oh, boom! Y equals mx plus b, okay? Y and x are y and x coordinates, right? Those are our y and x coordinates. What's m? M is the slope. What is b? The y-intercept. That is where it crosses the y-axis, okay? So, hey, this is called slope-intercept form. What two parts do we have? Slope-intercept. What? No way! How cool is that, okay? Pretty neat, pretty rad, I would say. Okay? Look at all them chickens, okay? Hey, who can remember what standard form looks like? We use this one less often, okay? Ben, go and say it louder.
A plus B equals C.
Close.
That's what Mr. Howard.
Yeah, that's what Mr. Howard.
Mr. Howard.
AX plus B, Y equals C. Okay?
Hey, I was pretty close.
You were pretty close. That's why I had to repeat it. So, X and Y are still the same X and Y from up here. We just kind of reversed them around a little bit, okay? They're on the same side of the equation now. Here, Y was by itself. Now, X and Y are on the same side of the equation. A, B, and C are just different variables. So they're going to be different numbers. It could be 1, it could be 0, it could be 5,442, it could be negative 1 over 3. It can be a multitude of things, okay? So, and they can be different numbers too from each other. Is it starting to come back a little bit, hopefully?
Yeah.
Okay? And we can find our slope from standard form as well. Does anybody remember one of two ways that we could find our slope from standard form? Justin.
Negative A minus B.
Close. Negative A over B. M, our slope, is equal to negative A over B. So you take whatever A is. What was that?
What's the thing you wrote, Blue? What is that?
This is how you find the slope for this.
For like the whole thing?
For standard form.
Okay.
The slope of an equation, just like we have our M here, so another slope. Excuse me. We have our M here, which is our slope here. So it could be negative A over B. You can take it from standard form, find the slope that way. Take whatever A is, make it negative. So it's negative becomes positive, positive becomes negative. Divide it by B. What's another way we can find the slope? Our second way, that's one way. What's our second way we can find the slope? Okay, you know this one, what do you think? Okay, so we can do y minus y over x minus x if we're given two coordinates. Are we given two coordinates though?
No.
Darn it, but that is our main way of finding slope that we learned originally and how we find slope when we're given two
It's that really
coordinates.
long one. It's like A1 plus that's point.
No, that's point slope.
Alright,
Yeah,
so
that's
what if when an equation is in this form, is it really easy to find the slope?
Yeah.
How do you know where the slope is when we have this form?
Slope is
I
ten.
find the
It's always next to the axis, whatever our m is. So could we solve this for y?
We
Like
could.
this is solved for y. Y is by itself. We can solve this one for y as well and find our slope. Okay. So the other way to find slope is to solve for y. We're going to go on to the next slide. Okay, do not write all this down right now, okay? Look up here, follow along with me, please and thank you. Graphing and slope-intercept form. Hey, did we just talk about this being slope-intercept form? Did we just talk about m being the slope, b being the y-intercept? Yeah, okay, we already did that first part, right? There's no reason to write it down again right now if we just wrote it down. The first step, we're graphing this. Plot your y-intercept on the y-axis. Does that sound familiar? You take whatever your y-intercept is, whatever your b is, and you plot that. Practice doing it in a minute, don't worry. And second one is, from this point, we use our slope, our m, one that's with the x, to make a second point. We use the rise over run to find another point. Is this ringing a bell? Okay, good. Hopefully ringing a few cowbells up there. So we're going to go through a couple examples here. These are both in slope-intercept form. So let's start with this left one. I want you to write this left one down, and I want us to sketch a graph. So go ahead and sketch a graph on there. Doesn't have to be perfect. As you guys know, and you know very well, mine is not perfectly straight up and down.
I still don't
Oh,
know.
no, it's pretty
Well,
close.
that one curve. Remember when you did like a perfect equal sign, and it was, or like maybe it was a subtraction sign or something, but it was like perfect. No, it was an equal sign. Yeah, but it was like perfect.
Now, have you ever seen that teacher? He did the perfect circle.
Oh, he
without
just walks
zero
in. He just
factor.
walks in. And
It's like
I had a student do that too, actually.
it's.
I had a student do that last spring. It's pretty crazy. Hey, so if we have this down here, and we could have chosen different numbers. We could have gone further, like -6 or something like that, or -10. But I'm like, -4 will be enough. +4 will be enough, so on and so forth. So our first step to graph this in slope-intercept form is what? What's our first step? Okay, find a starting point. What is going to be our starting point? -1. How do you know it's going to be -1?
Because that's our y-intercept.
Very good. It's our y-intercept. So it'll be -1 on which axis? The y-axis or the x-axis? The y-axis. The y-intercept is where it crosses the y-axis. So we'll go over here. I'm going to do this in a different color just to make sure it's accented so we can see it. And say, hey, that would be where our y-intercept is. We found one point. We need more. How can we find a second point? Okay, can you put that in the
Slope.
okay, slope? Okay, so how do we use the slope? What is the slope?
Rise over run. So the 1 is how much you rise, and the 2 is how much you go left or right.
Okay, so our slope, grain of saying, is rise over run. And if our slope here is, what's our slope in this equation? Very good, -1/2, -1/2 is what remember with the x, you have to make sure you take the negative. So we're gonna rise 1 or go rise a -1, and we'll run either 2 or a -2. So if we go 1 up, which way do we go 2? Left or right? Sorry, yes. If we go up 1, thank you. Do we go left 2 or do we go right 2?
Left 2.
Very good. We would go left 2 because if we go positive up, we have to go negative to the left to make sure that our fraction stays negative. So if we go 1 down, which way would we right. Very good. We have 3 points. We can connect our line and be pretty confident in where it goes. Does this sound familiar, guys? Okay, we've done this before. Okay. We're gonna skip this next example. We're gonna skip that. Did I just hear people say dang it?
Cause you already did it.
Yeah,
Okay.
basically.
Hey, so don't write this down right now. Don't write this down yet. Just follow along, please. Graphing in standard form. Standard form. AX plus BY is equal to C. We said that's what our standard form was. Okay, Ben and Chris are kind of tag team to get us there. Now in this, we can graph it a couple different ways. So one way we can graph it is we can find our X and Y intercepts and then graph them, plot them and draw the line. Another way is we could solve for Y and put it in the slope-intercept form. We're going to practice the X and Y intercepts first, though. So we said a Y-intercept is when it crosses which axis? The Y-axis, very good. So if it crosses the Y-axis, if it's coming across here, and it crosses this Y-axis, what's the X value have to be if it crosses this axis?
Always 0.
Always 0. Can the X be 1 and it cross this axis? No, it can't be over here and here at the same time. That's not possible. I can't be here and by the window at the same time. I am not able to do that. Just like this line could not be here and here at the same time. When it crosses the x-axis, that's going to be called our what? X-intercept, right? If the y-intercept is y and it crosses the y-axis, the x-intercept is going to be when it crosses the x-axis. What's the y value have to be for an x-intercept?
Always 0.
Always 0. It has to go right at 0. Because once again, if y is 5, then it can't cross this axis. Not possible. If y is 0, then it is crossing this axis. It is possible. We're going to put this into practice. So we said, hey, if we're finding the x and y intercept, we said for the y-intercept, x is always what? 0. We said x is going to be 0. So if we're solving for the y-intercept, that means we can take this equation, and what are we going to put in for x? 0. We said, hey, if x is 0, we're going to make x 0. We'll substitute that in like that. Rewrite the equation. Everything stays the same except for what we're substituting. The only thing we changed or substituted was x and 0. We put 0 in for x. And 3 and x were multiplying before, correct? So they got to be multiplying now. Sam, what's 3 times 0? Boom. If it's 0, do we even have to write it there actually? Oh no, we don't. Okay. Well, negative 2y is equal to 6. Christian, what would you do now? Divide by what? Negative 2. Negative 2y divided by negative 2 becomes what? Just y. Anything divided by itself is 1. 1 times anything is the other thing. What's 6 divided by negative 2? Derek. Very good. So we found our y-intercept to be negative 3. So if we were to write that as a point, it would be 0, negative 3. So that's what x is, this is what y is. So if we find we switch up gears and we say, okay, let's find the x-intercept now. What do we know about y when we have the x-intercept? 0. So we're going to take this equation again, this original equation. 3x minus 2y is equal to 6. And what are we going to do this time if we're solving for the x-intercept instead of the y-intercept? No.
0 for y.
We'll plug in 0 for y. So we plugged in 0 for x when we found the y-intercept. X was 0. So when we find the x-intercept, or y is 0, we're going to plug in 0 for y. It's the same principle we're we're just gonna plug it in. We're saying, hey, if y is 0, we're gonna make y 0, because then we can solve this. 3x minus 2 times 0 equals 6. What's 2 times 0, William? 0. And William, do we need to write it there if it's minus 0? No, so we can just write 3x equals 6, correct? Perfect. Okay. Betsy, what now? I love it. And x is equal to what? X is equal to what?
2.
Thank you. Okay. So our coordinate would be 2, 0. So what we could do with this is we could make a graph and plot these points. Make a graph, plot these points. Let's make a graph. Let's plot these points. Make sure you're making this one with me. We'll go over here. We said, hey, we have 0, negative 3. So it's going to be 0 left to right and negative 3 down. 1, 2, 3. So we need to have 1 right here. We have 1 going at 2, 0. 1, 2. And that's the x-intercept. Do we have enough points to make a line? Yeah, you only need 2. So what are we going to do with these 2 dots? Connect them. Very good. With my flawless line connecting skills.
Okay, that line is actually pretty straight, but the bottom half.
This part is terrible,
Bottom half
but
is
this part is
longer.
pretty decent.
The top line. I would agree. It's a little tricky.
Like at the top.
You know, started from the bottom now here, okay? Hey, so does this make sense though? This is a review, okay? We've done this part before, right? Hey, another quick review, okay? Horizontal lines.
Great.
What's their acronym for horizontal lines?
Boy.
HOI.
Point.
The H stands for horizontal.
0.
That is a 0. The slope, I left myself in the room. The slope is equal to 0. And y is equal to a number. So it looks like y is equal to a number. So if y is equal to 3, it's going to be horizontal. And you go to where y is 3. We'll just pretend that's where y is 3. And you make a horizontal line. You guys remember that?
Yes.
Done it before. And we also have hoi and bucks. Very good. Bucks. Vertical lines
Undefined.
have an undefined slope. Very good. And its x is equal to a number. So like the other one was y equals to just a number by itself. This one's x equals to a number. So you can have x equals negative 4. So if we were to graph here, we would just take, hey, where is x negative 4? Right here. And we'll make a vertical line through all of these points. That one was much better. I mean, not perfect, but much better.
Give yourself a slap on the back.
It's really what I wanted. Okay. Any questions on that? Hey, guess what, guys? First day back, and guess what Mr. Collins is going to give you? Woo! Okay.
Mr. Howard's not even giving us homework. Just read it.
I'm the meanie. Okay. Hey, I'm going to pass out a worksheet. It has 12 questions on it. Do you think we're going to do all 12 today?
No.
Sure.
No, we're not going to. I'll be nice. Jada, jada, jada.
Like 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 4, maybe.
1, 2, 1, 1, 2, 3.
1, 2, 0.
Ben, you can say
I
right.
will never give. Never have a child.
No, that makes me sad.
Okay.
I won't even.
Voices back off, please. Voices back off, please. on this, I'm gonna write this in red on this. I want you to do just the odds. Do the odds. Hey, when is this gonna be due, class? Next class. And when is our next class? Tomorrow, okay? So remember, this is due tomorrow. Hey, is it due at the start of class or in the middle of class? Start, okay? So, let's do 1, 3, 5, 7, 9, 11, okay? It's just graphing equations like we were doing today.
I'm gonna forget about this one. Write it down and I'm gonna do it all.
Well, write it down right now, or take a picture of the board,
Wait, but.
or look at the video, or look at Google Classroom.
Oh, I forgot we did videos.
Devin, William, meet me at my desk, please, and thank you.